Good evening, everyone. It is the 28th. We are nearly done with May. Holy goodness, where is this year going? We have all the news, all the crazy. Thank you, Ghostry and Wolfram, for getting all the mod things up. Welcome, Tammy. We have all the shenanigans news, and I am here to tell it to you because holy cow, I needed to wake up after the Karen Reed trial today. I'm not sure I actually started sleeping with my eyes open there a bit. I'm not quite sure. But our first story is San Diego police officer Anthony Hare resigns after locking himself in the back seat with a female detainee and asking her if she's single. I mean, you know, there could have been better choices made, I'm guessing, than dating at, the office when you're a police officer. I I mean, a San Diego police officer has resigned after he was caught uh, in a locked back seat of his squad car with a female detainee who propositioned him for the Smexy time last year, newly released body cam footage showed. Officer Anthony Hare left his post about a month after a probe was launched into the August 2023 incident, and one day before he was to meet with investigators for his second scheduled interview. Hare, who had been with the San Diego Police Department for 2 years, found himself in a vehicle with a female suspect after he arrested her on suspicion of stealing a car outside a convenience store. I mean, who among us hasn't fallen wildly in love with the chick that was trying to lift the Corvair off the Oh, sir, what in the actual hell? You had to be at the employee meeting where they're like, "Hey, cops, not for nothing or anything, but we do have a video cam of your back seat, and you are wearing these little recorders. Maybe don't do anything not legal." Interesting. The suspect, who has not been named, apparently this is Mr. Hair with no hair. He was going for the Columbo look. Maybe he shouldn't have gone Dirty Harry. After Hare arrested her, he was supposed to bring her to the police headquarters and later to Las Colinas Detention Center in Santee, California for questioning. In the body cam footage released by SDPD, the suspect was heard propositioning the officer for favors in order to get out of a ticket and asking him if he was married. You're not too bad. What's going to hurt me if I work the system? You know what I mean? That's the way I see expletive, she told Hare. Are you single? She added, to which he responded, yeah, but you're not. Uh, I'm down to, well, make the beast with two backs right now, she told him before he interrupts. Don't say that right now. Don't say that right now because everything is recorded right now. Oh, he's like, hey, ma'am, I'm kind of down with this entire idea, but we're also being recorded for the love of all that is holy. As the pair approach the detention center, Hare can be heard asking the female suspect what she's doing in the back seat. Hare turned off his body cam, slowed his vehicle as he drove on the residential street, the outlet added. About 20 minutes later, Hare called for a federal officer to help him out of a police car over an embarrassing mishap. Sir, you all the guilties. I asked him if he was okay. He said yes, then asked if I had my patrol car key with me. I asked why he was asking that. The unidentified officer said of Hare, describing his as panicked. Officer Hare then asked me if I could go meet him. This is the dumbest thing that has ever dumbed. Sir, how? Oh, she better been like 10 and a half to, screw your career all the way down the toilet. I asked him his location and he said near Cottonwood. I asked him why he needed me, And he said he would tell me when I got there. He said he was really embarrassed. Investigators reported that Hare believed the woman was suffering a medical emergency. Sir, were you going to check her airways and breathing? That's not what that's how you end up with, I don't know, wife o convicto, if you will. Uh, so he, went back, of course, to save this woman from, I'm sure, her contact, being somewhat amiss, or I'm sure she was having an embarrassing wardrobe malfunction as per usual. Hare and the woman, of course, denied that anything untoward happened, as the officer claimed he was checking on the suspect in the back. I mean, that's what we wanna call it, I guess. Sir, no. When I was waking her up, that's when I noticed that the door had closed on me, and that's when I was trying to kind of open the door, Hare said in the clip. San Diego police found traces of, male byproduct of the smexy time, on the belt that he wears. Now, maybe he just got a little bit overstimulated by her even offering, but, I don't think we need to have Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys on this one. He wanted to get with me, and I was done with a warrant or whatever I got arrested for. Well, felon's gonna felon. She's like, "Oh, you want me to talk about him? Under the bus he shall go." It's unclear if he will face any criminal charges over the ordeal. The Post has reached out to the San Diego Police Department for comment. So, the sad thing, unfortunately, is that if this woman plays this right, because of the power dynamic difference, her being handcuffed, if she decides to change her mind, there's going to be some ridiculous lawyer who is going to go to the state and say, gives us money so we go away. And they're going to have to pay because, he turned off his body cam and his recording device, I guess, to help her with her, I don't know, hangnail. But it's really funny until, the taxpayer has to pay because this guy couldn't, you know, be made to take control. Like, she would have been out in, oh, I don't know, like 3 days. Seriously. In more of taxpayers, there's a manhunt, y'all. If you're in Florida, this is very super serial. This is all of the man, bear, pig cereal. Police vow to find violator who did donuts on Pride crosswalk in Florida. I'm glad that Florida has taken care of all the rest of crime so we can focus on the real terror, the dingbat who did, donuts on the rainbow. For the love of all that's holy. I'm glad that all real crime, real and imagined crime has been, covered. For the love of all that is holy. Police are investigating after drivers left marks on the Pride crosswalk in St. Petersburg, Florida, in 2 instances over the last 2 weeks. The first car accelerated through the intersection, and the second time a driver did donuts on the Pride mural. The St. Petersburg Police Department released a statement about the recent incidents and wrote in a Facebook post, quote, over the last week, 2 different vehicles have left tire marks damaging the Progressive Pride Street mural at 2000, let's see, 2500 Central Avenue. Well, there you go. I mean, how will we survive until we find this fiend? We're just gonna have to check all the tires in, Florida until we find the culprit. Quote, "The first occurred on May 17th." Oh, sorry, I thought I heard kids screaming, but it's because youngest son is being a pesty pest as per usual. May 17th, 9:30 a.m. when a truck accelerated through the mural. The second incident happened on May 22nd at 2:41 a.m. involving a blue two-door vehicle doing donuts on the mural. Investigators have no reason to believe the incidents are related. The statement said it is going to cost the city of St. Petersburg $1,100 to restore this. The city aims to have the mural painted in time for Pride Month festivities. How is that $1,100? I've got like primary paint colors. Residents told the Bay Times that the two incidents of tire tracks have them feeling worried as the cars left streaks on the rainbow painted road just ahead of Pride Month in June. The driver responsible for the donuts faces a felony charge of criminal mischief. Mayor Ken Welch also made a statement about the mural getting marked up by tire tracks, writing, "In light of the recent vandalism targeting our progressive pride flag mural, I want to emphasize that there's no place for hate in St. Petersburg." Dear Lord, no idea. So there you go. If you happened to do any sort of okay, if you know people are going to drive like it's Florida, maybe, and this is just a thought, don't put the rainbow on the street. I don't yeah, this is not a felony in my estimation, and who the hell did you pay? Like, uh, how much did we pay for this mural originally? Because I think every single parent has at least, 2 gallons of tempera paint somewhere, so we could all probably figure this out. I'm not trying to be a butt, but seriously, guys, it's drive. It's a it's a street. I don't know. In Lord Chippy shall be fed news, Vincent Root, number of alleged victims doubles as special education teacher indicted for prolific abuse. Lord Chippy, new contestant for your acquaintance. Let's see here. The SA allegations against a special education teacher have doubled in scope in a new indictment. Vincent Root, 59, now faces trial for mistreating a total of 14 students, according to prosecutors in Burlington County, New Jersey. Authorities last year had the victim count as only 7. Root, who taught at Chatworth Elementary School, was first charged in October 2023. The investigation began last month after a student came forward and accused Root of touching him in a gross way during previous school years, prosecutors wrote. Investigation revealed that the victims, all of whom were male, were abused in classrooms inside the school building. The investigation further revealed that the abuse occurred over a multi-year period. The names, ages, and further details about the victims are being withheld in an attempt to protect the identity of the victims. Law enforcement put out feelers at the time for any information on the suspect. Anyone with information concerning this defendant that might be helpful to investigators is asked to send an email to the Special Victims Unit in Burlington, New Jersey. The tone changed with news on Friday that the indictment authorities now say the defendant abused a total of 14 students. Root currently faces 14 counts of SA in the second degree, up from the original 7. He also faces 14 counts of endangering the welfare of children in the second degree, also up from 7. Authorities are open to hearing from anyone else who says Root abused them. From the prosecutors in the case, anyone who believes they were victimized by this defendant is asked to send email to tips at co.burlington.nj.us or call the Special Victims Unit. I gross, disgusting, awful, terrible. Why? Snake Island is too good for you, sir. Uh, in odder news, the government apparently tried to force a Christian ministry to remove all biblical references, is what I'm kind of gathering. The government tries to force Christian ministry serving at risk youth to remove its Christian character. A Christian youth ministry group is experiencing financial woes, causing irreparable injury after Oregon government agency conditioned critical funding on whether it would hire people who did not conform to the nonprofit's deeply held religious beliefs. Wait a minute, so a nonprofit Christian youth outreach ministry is not going to hire the, oh, I don't know, satanic Wiccan lesbian, priestess down the street. My shock and awe. The Oregon-based Christian ministry group, 715 Ministries, is currently grappling with a large deficit in its annual budget after the state's education department allegedly stripped its funding due to its religious character. The lawsuit, originally filed by Alliance Defending Freedom in March, alleged. The state wrapped up oral arguments last week and is awaiting decision from the judge in the case. It felt very much like a punch in the gut. Bud Amundson, the executive director of the Christian Youth Mentoring nonprofit, told Fox News Digital, "We were actually kind of one of their favorite programs," he added. 715 Ministry serves at risk youth of all faiths and backgrounds, including those who are incarcerated and expectant and teen parents. It has been granted funds for 6 years before it was abruptly denied over a statement of faith expected by its staff. The ministry required all board members, employees, and volunteers to be authentic followers of Christ. The ADF argued that as a religious organization, it has the legally protected right to prefer members of its own faith in employees and volunteers. The ADF based it on the Supreme Court rulings, including one which said the government can't interfere with religious organizations' selections of those who believe will personify its beliefs. When we were awarded the funding, we were happy to continue on with the partnership. And then to have it pulled for that reason, I mean, I was like, how in the world could that happen? Odmundson added he still doesn't know if he's going to fill the financial gap into the next fiscal year. My hope and goal is not to reduce staff, which will reduce access for young people, he said. I've had a variety of emotions related to that, and probably the best thing I could say is now it feels like we're very underappreciated and that our hard work is basically being tossed into the trash can simply because they disagree with our faith perspective. Uh, Amundson said he's dipping into the nonprofit's reserves to ensure that his staffers aren't laid off and the local youth aren't turned away due to lack of resources. We're in the middle of dealing with this right now. The amount of grants was over 10% of our budget. And now, and so to have that pulled, obviously, we have to go about funding a different way. He said we've had to spend $187,000 in reserves to keep the program present. Defendants, for the first time, decided to prohibit faith-based organizations from participating in the program if they prefer members of their own faith as employees and volunteers, the lawsuit said. This new rule led to defendants stripping 715 Ministries of over $400,000 in grant awards just because the Christian ministry expects its employees and volunteers to share its religious beliefs and mission. Jeremiah Gallus, senior counsel for the ADF, said the Supreme Court, 3 times in a period of 7 years, had to tell state officials you cannot exclude religious organizations from your programs just because they are religious. But unfortunately, we see officials like the officials here in the state of Oregon who continue to push back and test those boundaries and try to find another way to exclude religious organizations. It's wrong. This situation, where the state of Oregon did partner with 715 for 6 consecutive years, no one disputes that 715 admirably fulfilled the purpose of the program's grant, but and that they are doing good work for the youth. And so just to say because you're religious, because you have a religious staff, somehow that keeps you from helping kids, the First Amendment doesn't allow that. Our Constitution doesn't permit that. At the end of the day, this isn't just a violation of 715's constitutional rights, which is bad enough, but it's actually hurting the youth of Southern Oregon who are not going to be able to access these services. 715 is not able to expand its programs to help more children, which is a tragedy. We want to make sure that 715 is not excluded from any future grant programs and that no other religious organization suffers the same religious discrimination that 715 has. The Department of Education did not reach out, you know, to make any comments other than to say they can't say anything about current, legal issues. You know, this is just weird. In other news, an international murder suspect was arrested in Splendora, which I'm hoping is a town in Texas, but I could be wrong. A woman wanted for murder by law enforcement agencies across the world has been arrested in Splendora. Police posted these pictures of, well, that is not. Well, I'm glad that they put this very, I don't know what she's, who she is accused of unaliving, but the pictures show Leo Acosta Sanchez, whose officers caught during a traffic stop. Investigators haven't given any more information about her or the murder she's accused of. So that was a good old. For the in sad news, and I don't know if there was possibly drinking involved with this, but a passenger who jumped off the world's largest cruise ship has passed away, which I interesting. A passenger has died after jumping from the world's largest cruise ship on the first night of his week-long voyage, officials said. The unidentified man jumped from Royal Caribbean's new 1,200-foot-long Icon of the Seas, which holds 7,600 passengers and 2,350 crew members, soon after it left Florida for Honduras on Sunday morning, the Coast Guard told the Post. The cruise ship deployed one of their rescue boats, located the man, and brought him back aboard, the Coast Guard said. He was pronounced deceased. Beyond assisting in the search, the U.S. Coast Guard did not have much involvement in the incident, the agency said. Royal Caribbean told the Post the ship's crews immediately notified the U.S. Coast Guard and launched a search and rescue operation. Our care team is actively providing support and assistance to the guests' loved ones during this difficult time. According to Cruise Hive, the ship was only about 300 miles from Port Miami at the time of the incident. The ship stopped for about 2 hours while members of the crew helped the Coast Guard accomplish its search and rescue mission. The jumper was brought back on board in critical condition before he succumbed to his injuries, the report said. Guests aboard the ship have shared videos about the rescue mission, and some expressed shock that the man was initially found alive. Others shared clip of the rescue boats heading away from the ship to retrieve the passenger. Icon of the Seas, the world's largest cruise ship, took its maiden voyage in January this year. The ship has 20 decks. It's nearly the size of 4 city blocks. It boasts a 17,000 square foot water park with 6 slides, 7 pools, including the 40,000 gallon Royal Bay, which is the largest pool at sea, and Absolute Zero, the largest skating rink at sea. There's also a theater, a carousel, and more than 40 restaurants, bars, and lounges aboard. Holy Fazoli. In other news, I mean, apparently this guy was just like, "Yeah, I done unalived someone." People are people got lost a bit this last couple years. Quote, "He's dead." Blood-covered man pointed deputies towards victim he murdered over borrowed car, deputies said. I mean, he does kind of look like Beavis in real life. So, a man beat another man to death in a dispute over a borrowed car, according to Pinellas County Sheriff in Florida. Covered in blood, the suspect pointed deputies toward the victims, they claimed. Matthew Paul Weldon, 37, remains in local jail with no listed bond records show. According to court documents and a press statement, witnesses said that Weldon and the victim, Carol Edwin Byron Jr., 49, had been arguing throughout the day on Tuesday. Finally, Weldon allegedly went to a neighbor's home and admitted to having just unalived someone. The neighbor told the defendant he was calling 911, and the defendant stated, "No, no, no," the deputy said. The defendant then ran to his other neighbor's residence and told him, wait a minute. Okay, so he went to first set of neighbors and he's like, "I done unalive someone." And they're like, "Well, we're going to call the cops because we're a little scared and you look a little bit too much like Beavis and or Butthead for us to feel pretty comfortable with you being around our house." And then he's like, "No, don't call the police." So then he goes to the other neighbors. Okay. Well, I mean, I am surrendering to the Florida man of this story. Uh, Deputies responded to the neighbor's 911 call. When deputies arrived on scene, they located the suspect, 37-year-old Matthew Weldon, in the front of the residence, covered in blood, law enforcement wrote. Weldon had blood on his clothes and hands, they said. He told the deputies he's dead and pointed toward the residence. Deputies then discovered the victim, later identified as 49-year-old Carol Bryan, lying on the back patio of the residence, suffering from multiple blunt force injuries to his head, neck, arms, and basically his entire body. He was pronounced at the scene. The detectives claim that Weldon and Bryan met at a bar in Clearwater about 2 weeks before. Weldon offered to help Bryan and loaned him his vehicle about 1 week ago, the press release goes on. Brian did not return the vehicle when he agreed to, and Weldon became upset. Detectives say Brian arrived at the residence with Weldon's vehicle on May 21st, 2024, and they engaged in an argument. Detectives say that based on the evidence at the scene, it appears that Brian was on the rear patio of the residence when he was struck in the back of the head. Brian was then struck repeatedly while on the ground, causing additional injuries. Weldon sustained minor injuries, they said. The investigation is said to be ongoing. Records show that on Friday, a public defender entered a plea of not guilty on Weldon's behalf and made a formal demand for discovery. I mean, yeah, uh, firmly affix your tinfoil hats because we have veterans who allegedly, served on Area 51, a base that doesn't actually exist, uh, to be suffering serious illnesses and can't get health insurance. Interdesting. Air Force veterans who served at a top secret nuclear testing site, Area 52. Oh, well, it's Area 52, not Area 51. It's more secrets. It's been a long day. My brain is mush from trying to figure out what the hell the actual point was of today's testimony in the Karen Reed trial. Uh, it was Area 52 in Nevada say they're being denied health care after their time at the base left them riddled with tumors and other ailments. Mark Ellie, 63, said he's grappling with a litany of health problems from his assignment 40 years ago inspecting secretly obtained Soviet fighter jets stored in hidden hangars at the uh, Tonopah Test Range, also known as Area 52, CBS News reported. Uh, it scarred my lungs. I've got cyst on my liver. I started having lipomas, tumors inside my body I had to remove. My lining in my bladder was shed, he told CBS. Even though a 1975 federal environmental assessment confirmed the presence of toxic radioactive material at the site, Eli said he is unable to get health coverage because his time at Area 52, which he spent under an NDA, is not on his official service record. U.S. government, please don't be doing this. Uh, it's true. It really is. Oh, in 1975 report, the government reasoned that stopping work at Area 52 was, quote, against the national interest and ul- that the that the ultimate costs are small and reasonable for the benefits received. There's a slogan that people say, deny, deny until you die. Kind of true here, Ellie said. Upholding the national interest was more important than my own life. Dave Crete worked with Air Force Security Guard Police Squadron at Area 52. He told CBS he now struggles with breathing issues, including chronic bronchitis, as well as a tumor in his back. He spent 8 years looking for other veterans who worked at the site and told CBS he came across all kinds of cancers. The government said they secured the area so there would be no more spread of contamination, he said, of Area 52. The way they secured it was with barbed wire fence. Now, I don't have a PhD in physics, but barbed wire fencing doesn't do good for radiation. I mean, have you talked to the officers of Canton? Because maybe it does. While other government employees who are stationed in the area, mostly from the Department of Energy, have received $25.7 billion in federal assistance, uh, Air Force vets like Eli and Crete don't qualify for that aid because their time at the base was not on the record and they can't prove that they were there. Last fall, Crete and another 50 Area 52 vet, Palm Braswell, filed a lawsuit against the federal government, hoping to recoup benefits for their health issues. The thing is, we are all handpicked to be up there and get that clearance, Braswell said. With that being said, we were all at the top of our game, always. The Department of Defense did not immediately return the Post's request for comment. Please do not, tell me that, well, I mean, it is the government. Never mind. They're probably going to deny it until forever. In other Florida news that I no longer have to deal with, but this sounds a little suspicioso. Again, Florida is going to allow doctors to perform C-sections outside of hospitals. Okie dokie. Uh, Obstetricians worry that their private equity clinics will increase the risks for women and babies should complications arise. Y- I mean, yeah. Florida has become the first state to allow doctors to perform cesarean sections outside of hospitals, siding with private equity owned physicians group that says the change will lower costs and give pregnant women the homier birthing atmosphere that they desire. No, I mean, if I'm going to have a C-section, I'd rather it be in a hospital. I'm just, I mean, call me crazy, but I'd rather be at the hospital if, okay. But the hospital industry and the nation's leading obstetricians association say that even though some Florida hospitals have closed their maternity wards in recent years, performing C-section in doctor-run clinics will increase the risks for women and babies when complications arise. A a pregnant patient that is considered low risk in 1 minute can suddenly need life saving care in the next. Clo- Cole Greaves, an Orlando perineo- perineonatologist, because that's a word, who chairs Florida's chapter of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, said in an email to KFF Health News. The new clinics, even with increased regulation, cannot guarantee the level of safety patients would receive within a hospital. The Florida legislature this spring passed a law allowing, quote, advanced birth centers where physicians can deliver babies, the normal way or by C section to women deemed low risk for complications. These women would be able to stay overnight at the clinics. Women's Care Enterprises, a private equity owned physicians group with locations mostly in Florida, along with California and Kentucky, lobbied the state legislator to make the change. BC Partners, a London based investment firm, bought Women's Care in 2020. We have patients who don't want to deliver in a hospital, and that breaks our heart, said Stephen Snow, who recently retired as an OBGYN with Women's Care and testified before the Florida legislator advocating for the change in 2018. Brittany Miller, Vice President of Strategic Initiative with Women's Care, said the group would not comment on the issue. Uh, Health experts are leery. What this looks like is a poor substitute for quality obstetrical care. Well, I mean, hold back there. I mean, it is going to be a private clinic. If I had to do it all over again, I would want to try like the home birth clinic or things like that where I wouldn't have to go to a hospital if I was, low risk. Now, being with all the health I mean, being all the, complications I now have, I would probably not qualify, and any doctor worth their salt and, you know, worth their malpractice insurance is going to tell me, "Ma'am, it's very nice, but this, number 7 cannot be born at our office. We just don't feel comfortable." But there are a lot of women who look, it's a drag to be at the hospital. Honestly, if they would let me leave the same day, I would have left. You can't sleep after your first, like, 3 that you kind of don't have to take the classes anymore or do anything else. You're just waiting to get home because you know the amount of laundry that's waiting at home for you to do with the other kids, so I don't think it's the, catastrophe that the OBGYNs are making it out to be, but I also feel like there needs to be a very firm and very, what are the protocols for if something goes wrong? Because they are right, uh, is, you know, things can go very wrong very quickly, and do they have procedures for this? Let's see. Said Alice Abernathy, an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology at the University of Pennsylvania Perelman School of Medicine. This feels like a bad band aid on the chronic issue that will make outcomes worse rather than better. Nearly one third of U.S. births occur via a C section, the surgical delivery of a baby through an incision in the mother's abdomen and uterus. Generally, or not officers, for the love of all that is holy. Doctors use the procedure when they believe it is safer than a regular delivery for the parent, the baby, or both. Such medical decisions can take place months before the birth or in an emergency. Florida State Senator Gail Harrell, a Republican who sponsored the birth center bill, said having a C section outside of a hospital may seem like a radical change, but was so so was the opening of outpatient surgery centers in the late 1980s. Harrell, who managed her husband's OBGYN practice, said birth centers will have to meet the same high standards for staffing, infection control, and other aspects as those outpatient surgery centers. Given where we are with need and maternity deserts across the state, this is something that will help us and help moms get the best care, she said. 17 hospitals in the state have closed their maternity units since 2019, with many citing low insurance reimbursement and high malpractice costs, according to Florida Hospital Association. Mary Mayhew, CEO of Florida Hospital Association, said it is wrong to compare birth centers to ambulatory surgery centers because of the many risks associated with C-sections, such as that of hemorrhaging. The Florida law requires advanced birth centers to have transfer agreements with a hospital, but does not dictate where the facilities can open or their proximity to a hospital. Now, my guess is that there are going to be, I think obstetrics malpractice insurance is one of the most expensive ones. So, my guess is that no doctor is going to try to do crazy, ill-informed or ill-advised things. Again, it's some of the highest malpractice insurance. And if there are, these maternity deserts, it's better than nothing. I wish we could have the hospitals keep up, but we have become so litigious that it's very onerous to keep that kind of malpractice. We have serious concern about the impact this model has on our collective efforts to improve maternal and fetal and infant health. Mayhew said, "Our hospitals do not see this in the best interest of providing quality and safety in labor and delivery. Despite its opposition to new birth centers, the Florida Hospital Association did not fight the passage of the overall bill because it also included a major increase in the amount Medicaid pays hospital for maternity care. Ah, hmm. So let me get this straight, hospitals. It's all about the safety, but also you say that there's more for us in Medicare? Well, then we find nothing objectable about this. Mayhew said it's unlikely that the birth centers would help address care shortages. Hospitals are already struggling with a shortage of OBGYNs, she said, and it's unrealistic to expect advanced birth centers to open in rural areas with a large proportion of people on Medicaid, which pays the lowest reimbursement for labor and delivery care. It's unclear whether insurers will cover the advanced birth centers, though most insurers and Medicare cover care at a midwife run birth center. The advanced birth centers will uh, not accept emergency walk ins and will only treat patients whose insurance contracts with the facilities making them in network. Snow, the retired OBGYN with Women's Care, said the group plans to open an advanced birth center in Tampa or in Orlando. The advanced birth center concept is an improvement on midwife care that establishes um, you can basically, with a midwife, give birth at home if you would like to, if you are not, high risk, or you can go to a center they run. Uh, he said the centers allow women to stay overnight if necessary and offer anesthesia and C sections. Snow acknowledged that with the private equity firm invested in women's care, the birth center idea is also about making money, but he said hospitals have the same profit incentive and, like midwives who likely oppose the idea of centers that can provide C sections because they could cut into hospital revenue. We are trying to reduce the cost of medicine, and this would be a more cost effective and pleasant place for patients, he said. Kate Bauer, executive director of the American Association of Birth Centers, said patients could confuse advanced birth centers with the existing freestanding birth centers for low risk births that have been run by midwives for decades. There are currently 31 licensed birth centers in Florida and 411 freestanding birth centers in the United States. This is a radical departure from the standard of care, Bauer said. It's a bad idea because it could increase risks to mom and baby. No other state allows C-sections outside of hospitals. Only the only facility that offers similar care is a birth clinic in Wichita, Kansas, which is connected by a short walk to a hospital, Wesleyan Medical Center. The clinic provides hotel like maternity suites where staffers deliver about 100 babies each month, compared with the 500 per month in the hospital itself. Morgan Tracy, a maternity nurse navigator at the center, said the concept works largely because the hospital and birthing suites can share staff and pharmacy access, plus, patients can be quickly transferred to the main hospital if complications arrive. The beauty is that there are team members on both sides of the street. I don't know. Y'all, it seems like it's trying to fix a problem. I don't, I am not, no longer covered under this issue. So I'll let the people that are still birthing people fight this one out. I am going to go to bed now because, y'all, I don't know, but I think Karen Reed like, they tried to suck my soul out of my body today. I don't know. The boring was just so thick in the air that I'm already exhausted. Who knows? I do not have anyone I am sending you guys to. You are free to choose your own destiny tonight. I will see you guys in the morning for Mornings with Mo, and then I may do some more of the Scott Peterson, reading tomorrow. I am not quite sure. Who knows? It's a new day tomorrow. Have a great evening. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be here in the morning. Bye, you guys.